Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Max Payne 3, Old School No Damage. This is Chapter 7. This is where the game starts getting hard. So, this first sequence here is a pretty long checkpoint. You have to do the first shoot dodge, you have to shoot a bunch of guys coming into the pool room, and then there's a couple of people that stack up here on these doorways as you escape. And I'm going to do it really quickly and make it look really easy, but when you're first coming through here, it takes a while to get down all the positions, and if you get them doing this, which they can easily do, which is really frustrating, it can slow things down. But it must be said, when this game is being aggressive, it gets real good. And I'm a big fan of that. But this right now, this moment just here, this is one of the longer checkpoints. This is a very, very tricky sequence. I was here for a while. They want you to do a decent amount of gameplay for a player like myself, where I'm used to compact encounters. But as you can see, when you do things quite a lot, you learn it. You have to learn it, there's so many guys. Right now I'm trying to pick up an AK, but it won't let me. And I've no idea why the detection was being super weird. Something that's really silly too. Modders have given Max a drab green shirt instead of this colourful tropical one, because apparently they have no sense of humour, and they believe that it would befit an ex-cop more. And I'm sorry, but this shirt is amazing. Why the fuck would you want to mod it so that he had a miserable looking green shirt? All because you believe it fits his character better. When you think about it, the shirt itself is in itself a joke. And at this moment in time, Max feels like a joke of a man, so it speaks on multiple levels. I never really understand when people would do something like that, but I found it the other day and I thought it was really funny. There's a guy in a window here who I'm about to clip. There he is. And then when you move forward, guys, there's going to be, I think, 4 more enemies, but you have to trip them with your movement. And the problem with this is, there are times when they shoot you before you have time to dodge. So you're going to notice, I don't take any prisoners. Additionally, if I dodge to my right, I will dodge over that balcony and I'll take fall damage, which I did plenty of times. That's the reason why you're going to see some tentative movements right now. Because I know the spawns, but the spawns started being goofy. And whenever the spawns are goofy, it gets really frustrating. But the moment you hit that last guy, all is done. And then we have this weird, glitchy, silly section. So this is what it should look like. Right then, you cannot turn your aimer far enough to shoot him. You have to wait, which is really silly, but whatever. So right now, that looked fine, didn't it? Everything went fine. Everything was cool. And then this is another bitch section coming up, so bear with me. That section I just did is really buggy. At the end of this video, you're going to see a bunch of bonus clips of that section doing weird things, and I've no idea why it does it, but it does. This checkpoint is a very long and a very unkind section. You're going to get assailed from across the way by a ton of these gangbangers, kill them, and then a door behind you is going to be kicked in by a couple more of them. And then at that point, you can move across the floor and into the second side, but there's a bunch of guys on the floor, there's a bunch of guys on the balcony, they can hit you from almost every angle, and I don't really see how this section fits in the grand scheme of what I'm trying to do, so instead, we're going to be a little bit more defensive. We're just going to claim some headshots, kill some people, and take it slow. The moment that door opens, though, you have to turn around. If you don't, you'll just get hit. And there it was. So you notice how I immediately put the bullet time on? And I somehow managed to dodge pellets by not moving, because I'm a god. And then there's one guy coming through who I tried to shoot just then, but I miss. This is a bit of a tense moment. There he is. See you later. And then he misses me again with his bullets, which was really kind of them. This game is interesting because it feels like it doesn't have a grace period, but I think it does. And if you're wondering what a grace period is, it's just the phrase that I've come up with when the enemies engage you. I get the feeling like their first few bullets, in certain circumstances, are not instant, one frame, one pixel lasers of doom. I get the feeling that they are giving you a grace period to get into the encounter. And it's a mechanic that a lot of developers have used, but there are times in this game where they most certainly do not do it. Because the amount of times that I've mentioned where I get immediately hit by some guy I never even saw, it's really hit and miss. And I'd love to know the programming behind it, but I just have no clue. Right now, I'm trying to angle the guys on the basement, because this is one of the areas where this fight gets awkward. Because if you go down the stairs, a lot of the times they'll shoot you before you get a chance to shoot them. You cannot shoot dodge because it's too high and you'll take fall damage. So it puts you in this really unenviable position of trying to find where the bad guys are so you can push forward, but seemingly knowing that if you take a bullet at any given time by perhaps those two knobheads that just spawned, you're going to be in a world of pain doing it all over again. And this is definitely where I felt the game step up. Definitely. But the good news is, most of the levels that are coming up aren't that bad. They're a lot more fun than they are difficult. You know, obviously I've put some time in the game, I have played it before, so it might just be my experience with third-person shooters that's shining through. If you've had difficulty with the game, don't feel bad that I'm able to do this. It's one of the things that anybody can do this if they put the time in. You know, all you have to do is hit that retry checkpoint and just bang your head against it until you get a really, really cool run. But here's a guy just there in his football shirt, put him down with a nice blast to the ankle. And then this is the moment where you have to make a choice. You know, pushing forward, there could be somebody you've not seen and they're going to shoot you. You also know that you could be tripping an invisible wire that's going to make people turn up. It's in moments like this where I wish I'd studied all these sections and I knew exactly where all the tripwires were. But unfortunately, I don't really ever take a game that far because I don't replay them enough, you know? I'm not a speedrunner or somebody that does that kind of thing. It's cool that those people exist though, because you can watch videos of people that have done that and they'll run through this entire section just capping everybody because they know exactly where they're going to be. And when you watch speedrunners do it, it's just a magical thing. They've played it so much they just have the muscle memory for all the positions. There we go, that was cheeky. But I suppose you could say Max is kind of old now, so he's taking it at a more leisurely pace. That'll be my excuse if anybody asks. I never feel good in these moments though, I don't know about you guys. Like, I think this section, as it exists, I think it's perfectly fine for what it is. It's a section that's meant to feel like you've got a ton of people shooting at you, and you're in a very cramped environment trying to fight back. I think as far as difficulty goes, I think this is a difficult sequence. But I think for the project that I'm trying to make, it's certainly a moment that just doesn't fit. I thought he was alive then, but there's no planet where he's alive. But I'm going to shoot him anyway. And then there's one more guy coming up who I believe kills himself, or I shoot a propane tank and that kills him. And I can remember this checkpoint on my walkthrough. I remember it being a tricky one. So, put a bullet in that guy. I do like his shorts. He's got some pretty badass shorts rocking. There we go. And then it's going to explode, and that's the end of that encounter. And then we have this one, which... This is a much shorter checkpoint, and it's much easier, but it's also quite hectic. In this room, there's a handful of dudes across from you, but they have a really tough time hitting you for some reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because they're wearing sacks on their head and they can't see, but I noticed that I should have been getting hit by some of that, but I never did. That's the reason why I was running around not using bullet time, because I wasn't afraid of them. There are certain areas of this game where fear is useful, because it will keep you alive, but then in a moment such as that, it doesn't really matter. You'll also notice that I'm not sticking to my agenda of using double pistols. The only reason that is I ran out of ammo. You know the really long section that I mentioned earlier, where I was talking about the drab green shirt? In that section, there were so many people to shoot that I ended up not having the ammo to finish it. Because once you'd done that, there was that big sequence, wasn't there? So there wasn't really much you could do. Look how close that was, by the way. Just then, there was a transition, because there's a bit of moving through a couple of rooms, and I wanted to trim it out so that it would be a bit more streamlined. Here's another guy from a doorway. I always remember him, because I think he hit me in my walkthrough, and then there's two guys in this room. There they are. There's another bit of walking that happens just then, so you didn't miss much. And then when you come through this doorway, you hit the next checkpoint, which is us taking on a house. It's like a gangbanger house. It starts with that guy immediately above you, and then there's a bunch of spawns to the right and a spawn in the house. If you shoot dodge off this balcony, there are times when if you hit something on your way down, you won't take damage, but every time I tried to do it, I ended up getting clipped by the floor, so I instead opted for a bit of a slower path here. But you can shoot dodge and hit a lot of people, and that's what I'm going to try and do, because the whole point of this run is to do stuff like that, and it was really frustrating to get into a sequence where it wouldn't let me do it. And I'm sure if I'd have banged my head against it longer, I would have been able to. I'm waiting right now for the two people to turn up. So he turns up on the roof, starts shooting down. The one guy on my left is there, and then the third guy's there as well. So now when I do the jump, I can kill all three of them. and the only person left now is the guy who's sometimes on the left side of the fence or sometimes comes through the house. And of course, I'm going to check where he was the last time I did this checkpoint, and he isn't there. So if you come down here and you shoot dodge to the left, he can sometimes be directly in front of you, but he's gone in the house. And he's done that so that this footage doesn't look as cool as it could have done if I'd have ended it just then. And there he is, you see him? One of the things you need to bear in mind with this game, guys, is that the AI knows where you are. They do not even hide it either. They will always know where you are, and they will mercilessly put you down. But rocking the 1911 and the revolver, we're going to be moving through this house. I love it when Max wipes the sweat off his brow, but there's no way to do it. He seems to do it by himself. Because there's nothing cooler than being in the middle of a gunfight and having him do that. Ooh, this is a tough part. This part right now is really, really taxing, because if you get hit by any of these Molotovs, it's mandatory damage. So you need to take out everybody as quick as you can. You'll notice I sat in cover a little while at the beginning. I was doing that so that I could get more bullet time to kill them all in one foul swoop. And then that guy gets some kind of weird second life, even though he's got no cheek left. Just fractured his orbital. And then as soon as you come over here, as you push forward, you get a checkpoint. So once you get past this guy, with his big cheesy grin and his automatic weapon, that section seems quite tame and easy, you know, once you've cleared it like I just did, but I can guarantee that that is a tough sequence. And I remember it from my walkthrough on hardcore. It was one of the tougher areas of the game. But there's the transition to the checkpoint, and then we've got the next firefight. There's literally only 5 or 6 steps, but, you know, just for expediency, I've jumped to the next sequence. This is really taxing as well. There's those programmed Molotov throws that you saw just then, and then there's a guy who actually turns up and starts throwing them, which is kind of bizarre. So the moment you step up here, look at this, they're like whack-a-moles. 3 dudes randomly step up, and I think there's a 4th. You see him? There he is. Got him. Like, it's so silly. The moment you step up here, it's completely open and blank and no one's around, and then boom, 20 dudes. You know, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, much like the favelas of Sao Paulo. But there's one of the rocket sequences, and it's a frustrating one, that one, because did you see how close the rocket was to me just then? Pretty close, right? Did you notice how I didn't take any damage? Yet on the sequence before that, I took damage off a rocket, so yeah. Anyhow, glitchy bonus clip time. Look at this bullshit. This is so nuts. It does this so much too. Like, look at Max's arm, dude. He's handy capable. And you can't even restart because you're in this stupid section. It's really frustrating. Look at this bollocks. Where's it put me now? I was getting so pissed off. That time it let me restart, which is nice. This is me getting... Look at this! It puts me on the roof and then it instantly kills me. You see that bullshit? And there's times where it puts you on the roof and you can move. Like, look at this. What is he doing? That's the last guy you shoot and it gives me the slow-mo because I shot him. What is going on? And it keeps doing it. But what is happening? I was getting really mad. Look at this. Why does it do this? So dumb. But funny. I was laughing at first and then it got really annoying. But yeah, there you go guys. Thank you for watching and you take care now.